So yesterday, I was combing the area here around Farmington, Maine with Pete Roberts, kind of exploring the history of manufacturing here in the Northeast, and also how companies like Origin are kind of learning from that history and picking up and writing some new chapters here for this part of the country. And as he was going through the factory and explaining things, I found myself so fascinated that I wanted to come back and show just what goes on here at the factory in the process of making jeans and making boots and making all kinds of garments. It really is something else. So this is going to be a little bit different video than normal. What we're doing is kind of looking at the continuation of the history of manufacturing here in the Northeast. Okay, so I just got in here into the apparel part of the Origin facility, and as I'm always saying, I'm always looking for people who are smarter than me to explain things, which is why I have John, who is employee number one, alpha.
Yes.
You're the alpha here.
Yes.
at Origin. So anyway, John's going to kind of take us around and explain some of the inner workings of how they're continuing history here in the Northeast at Origin.
In the Apparel Division here, we have two different floors. So upstairs is all the stitching and finishing. So on the stitching floor, there's actually 3 different lines where they'll start products from start to finish, from cut product to finish. When we first started the actual manufacturing, we would do one step, set it down, do the step, grab another one, do the step. But we had someone that trained us in efficiency. So he told us, take a paper airplane. He goes, I want you to take 10 pieces of paper and then time yourself. Fold one corner, grab the next one, fold a corner, do that. And then pick it up again, fold it again. Do everything one step at a time. And then he goes, now, I want you to grab a paper airplane, go start to finish, set it down. Like 10 paper airplanes the first way was like, say 3.5 minutes. Doing it all and setting it down was like 47 seconds. So we realized, even though in stitching you take a product and you start going around, every time you pick it up and set it down is time. So it's set up so that someone does one step, turn, does another step, turn, does another step, sets it down, someone else picks it up, does a step, and sets it down, so it's only touched 2 to 3 times by the time it's finished, as opposed to picked up and set down 12 times. And then in that process also, I realized we had a sewing machine at my house when I was growing up, but it was, put on patches and, hem jeans and stuff like that. When you're making a product, for example, look at your shirt. This right here is one sewing machine. This right here is a separate sewing machine. This right here is a third sewing machine. So every time you develop a product, you have to find all the sewing machines. Interesting. Yeah. So just looking at all the different machines, you can see they all look a little different because they all do something a little different. Its only job is to put belt loops on jeans. That's the only thing it can do. That machine right there, it's the only thing it does is put belt loops on jeans.
Okay, so John has been going through kind of explaining some different things on the line here, and it really is quite phenomenal just looking at the operation and how they're looking to increase efficiency. And really it's no different than what other manufacturers have done throughout history. If you think of Henry Ford and the Model T, if you think about what was done during World War II where we were cranking out B-17s and B-24s off the line, they've taken that same idea and that same principle of maximizing efficiency and learned lessons from history and applied it right here. Pretty phenomenal process. Okay, now this has nothing to do with manufacturing, but it is a little piece of history. This factory is a former fallout shelter from the Cold War. So that's pretty cool.
So downstairs is where we weave, cut, and embroider all our products. So the looms we use downstairs are based on the same technology where computers came from. So I'll show you, they have a punch card that you actually put into the loom, and it tells what frames to go up and down. So when they were looking at developing the original computers, they were using punch cards from looms, and that's actually where binary came from. Was it meant either it was a whole or it wasn't? This is our warper. What this does is just a giant drum that holds the yarn, because we have a cage behind it that's called a creel that can hold 144 cones of yarn, but we need 3,600 actually going into the loom. So what we do is we wind about 800 yards of yarn onto this drum, slide it down, and then do it 24 more times. And you can see on this this warp down here that it actually has 25 sections. We pull it off as one flat sheet onto what's called the warp beam after it's done.
Okay, we're gonna strip this down into dumb guy language. How crazy is it that all of those individual threads get spun into this and then go over here onto this loom, and then all of the individual threads end up with this nice, beautiful weave. That really is something else.
So when a loom breaks, the technology or the knowledge is going overseas. There's not people here that know how to do this anymore. So if something actually breaks, I have to figure out how it works by going through each step and figuring out what each piece does, and then recalibrating it and trying to bring that knowledge back.
Let me see that piece.
All right. So, just so you know, that is supposed to be straight. You know, it took me about 2 weeks to replace this part.
Wow.
Toyota originally came up with this technology, and they made it so every single yarn goes through what's called a drop wire. And when the yarn breaks, this drop wire touches the metal, shuts the whole loom down, and tells you if you don't fix it, you're gonna have a defect in your fabric.
Wow. Gosh, look at that. Just to think that all of those threads are being woven together.
3,600 of them.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. It takes about 1 week to draw in, about 40 hours when you're starting from scratch to pull all the yarns from this side to the other side.
Gosh. Right, so for a knucklehead like me, this piece of machinery is just completely overwhelming. It's like standing at the base of Mount Everest and looking up. But Pete told me that there were a few old guys, not many, but a few who knew how to run this equipment. So that combined with just some regular ingenuity, they were able to get this process fired up. It's kind of cool seeing this history being reignited and then passed down, so that so yeah, the textile industry and the boot industry here in the United States can get jump started again.
Maine's heritage is in boot manufacturing. It goes back, over 100 plus years, and the problem we're running into, though, is that the knowledge was almost lost. The generations are leaving, but the people are still there, so we've grabbed a couple key people that actually were some of the best in the world at the stitch, a specific stitch on the boots, and they were actually hired to stitch gis, and we found out afterwards while we were starting to make boots that they were skilled, you know, actual skilled boot makers.
All right, so those boots right there, at one point, started off right here on this machine. And golly, the engineering on this and the machining is really phenomenal. So John was telling me that the boot goes over this little apparatus right here. You'll have to forgive me, I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to this stuff. And this is what stitches your boot together. And look at the needle. It's like driving a nail into that leather. And all of this knowledge was picked up from an older generation and is now being passed down to the next generation. History in action, pretty cool. And right there is the finished product. Kind of keeping this history of boot making alive right here in Maine. Very fascinating process. Thanks. All right, so in addition to the apparel and the boots, Origin also has a nutritional division where they make protein powder and joint supplements and all kinds of different things. Anyway, we've moved across town and we are now at their R&D lab. So we're gonna dodge in here real quick and get a tour and yeah, see what the R&D lab looks like here at Origin. Okay, so I happened to hit the nutritional division at just the right time. I'm going to get a little bit of a sample. Which one should I try?
This is the original version, and so we're making variations of, so you can try that one first.
Okay. All right.
Yep, so you don't need that little clipboard.
So it has 7 grams of protein in it.
Okay. That's good. That's not what I expected out of a
It's a sugar-free
protein chocolate bar.
It's a sugar-free chocolate bar. And so it can be for, you know, diabetics, people who are just building muscle, you know, just a candy, sweet
nice.
treat.
Yeah, that's good.
Hello, my name is Lauren Sanders. I'm the food scientist over here at Origin Labs. This is our prototype protein bar, and it's literally cutting edge. We're just talking about it. In order for us to make this bar exactly how it is now, we had to wait for certain products to hit the market. So there's a proprietary blend of humectants and naturally occurring sugars that are very good for you, but they did not exist until about a month ago. So we had to genuinely wait for this bar. That's why it's so quiet around here, because we're literally just waiting for this bar to age.
So here's the Origin protein bar called a Mulk bar. And I should have filmed myself tasting it, but trust me, it's really, really good. Okay, so Lauren just brought me back here into the shipping department here at their nutrition facility. And I've had people comment on some of the drinks that I've had on the channel, the Discipline Go, which is like a clean energy drink, and holy smokes, look at all of the Discipline Goes back here. This is really unbelievable. All right, so it's a little bit behind the scenes here at the Origin facility in Farmington, Maine. Very, Very cool place, and I love what they're doing here. They also have a YouTube channel called Origin HD, where you can kind of keep up with all of the things that are happening here from week to week at the Origin facilities. And one thing that I noticed, everybody that I talked to, whether it was in the boot factory or the garment factory or the nutrition lab, everybody loves the fact that they are here and they're a part of what this company is doing. So really neat place. Glad that I decided to kind of hang back and spend a little bit of extra time here. All right, as for now, heading off to the next place.